And we are back once again.
Hello.
Episode 172 of The Horror Guys. I'm a horror guy, and I'm Brian.
And I'm a horror guy, too, and I'm Kevin.
That makes two. That makes guys.
Guys.
And we talk about horror, so The Horror Guys.
Therefore. Yeah.
This is the complicated theme of our story.
It's not hard to follow.
All right, well, last week we did our little miniature short horror festival. This week we are back to our normal format.
Back to long pants again.
Yeah, darn it.
No more shorts. Well,
Yeah.
we do have one short.
Well, we always have one short.
Yeah.
Four full-length horror movies and a short.
This is a week of new things. These are all new.
They are?
Yeah. It's
they are.
either this year or last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're hearing the buzzing in the background, someone outside murdering Pinocchio with a wood chipper.
Once and for all, dealing with that little puppet.
Stupid puppet. Giving away all the lies with his nose. You know, if he just stood there and, was like a politician and the nose just kept growing and growing and growing, you'd have an unlimited supply of firewood all winter.
You would, yeah.
Just have his nose be stuck in the wood chipper and have him, give a campaign speech.
Just keep lying.
Warm for the winter. Well, what do we got this week, movie-wise?
We got The Sadness from 2021 and X from 2022. The Found Footage Phenomenon of documentary.
Needs more alliteration.
And a brand new one called Torn Hearts.
Rip.
We have some giveaways on Torn Hearts. Have you given away any of the
We
giveaways?
are recording these episodes too close together, so we haven't yet.
Okay.
So if you would like a free copy, a free promo code of Torn Hearts, we have several to give away. Just email us. Send it to email@horrorguys.com. That's just the word email.
They said
email @horrorguys.com, and ask for it, and we'll give it to you.
They said we'd like you to see this and talk about it and give away some copies. And so
Yeah.
here we are.
And, of course, this is the first week in June, so, if you're listening to this in September of 2024, don't email it for that. It'll be long gone.
Might have all been given away
But
by
for a
then.
few days, yeah, we've still got them. All right, and I should remind you before we get going that the Horror Bulletin weekly newsletter is out. And, of course, this week during our show, we're talking about the movie called X from 2022.
And this is not X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
No,
This is
but
a
in the
different X.
newsletter, we are doing X, the man with the X-ray eyes from 1963.
So it's a double X
It's a
week.
double X week, yes. And also La Casa Del Terror from 1960. One of the worst horror films ever made, if I do say so myself.
It was a stinker.
Yeah, Lon Chaney as the werewolf.
Not his best work.
Not his best appearance as the Wolfman, no. And, of course, if you're into the print books and ebooks, we have issue number 9 of the Horror Bulletin monthly magazine is now available. HorrorGuys.com/monthly to pick up a copy of that. All right, so are we ready for some movies? Are we happy?
No, we're sad.
Oh no, it's The Sadness.
It's the sadness.
From 2021. Written and directed by Rob Jabez. Stars Barant Zhu, Regina Lei, and Yingru Chen. Hour and 39 minutes. What'd you think? You like it?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Best movie of all time?
No,
Not going to go that far?
but really, really good.
Yeah, okay.
Another chapter in the zombie, fast zombies kind of genre. Oh, is this bloody and over the top on the sex and violence?
How about the spoiler-free judgment zone? What can we say?
Rated G for general audiences.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just kidding. This one is over the top on blood, violence, and sexual situations. Very inventively so. Fast, crazy, smart zombies are probably the worst, and this movie is full of them, and it is really excellent.
Yeah, there's some very... well, they're not really zombies, which
They
makes them a little
still-
smarter than usual.
Yeah, they still have their faculties, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not mindless, but it's like all inhibition is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the old lady on the Golden Girls?
Yeah,
Like that, only with blood.
only worse. Yeah. Much, much worse.
Okay, so we start out in Taiwan with a young couple, Jim and Kat, waking up together. They're planning on taking a vacation trip next week, but he can't go because he has to work. Jim then watches a YouTube video with a guy being interviewed about the Alvin virus. People say it's no worse than the flu, but experts are concerned about it mutating into something else. It's closely related to rabies, and it wouldn't take much to go over the edge, but people are politicizing the disease, and it's all fake news.
That's what some say.
Jim sees a bloody old woman standing on the roof of the building next door, but Kim doesn't see it. The next-door neighbor, Mr. Lin, says he has a cold, and Jim drives Kat to the train station on his scooter, and everything looks very normal, except for one bloody situation involving the police, ambulance, and dead bodies. Yeah, he thinks it's a traffic accident.
Yeah, you just see the aftermath of something. There's a couple bodies on the stretcher, and something bad happened.
Then on his way back, they're all gone, and there's bloody streaks on the ground. It's weird.
Yeah.
Jim stops off at a local breakfast place, and they talk about how the pandemic is killing the housing market. Huh. That old woman Jim saw earlier shambles into the place, and everyone notices her this time. She spits in a man's face and then pours boiling cooking oil on the proprietor. Almost immediately, others in the restaurant start attacking each other, so Jim gets out of there quickly. And we're not talking food fight either.
It spreads quickly, this disease.
People chase Jim all the way home. The nice neighbor, Mr. Lin, then tries to kill Jim with hedge clippers, and Jim figures out what's going on real fast, especially after he loses some fingers.
Ouchie.
He goes back outside.
There's a lot of ouchies in this
one. Oh, yeah, there is, yeah. He goes back outside to find Kat and sees that it's a full-blown zombie apocalypse all of a sudden. Except these zombies are alive, smart, and very sadistic. They use guns and weapons, too.
Anything that's handy. Very creatively sometimes.
They're as smart as humans. They're just crazy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile...
Over the top insane.
Yeah. Kat is on the train, and the man sitting next to her asks about the book she's reading. This businessman is a little too friendly, and she suggests that he back off a bit and stop being creepy. The man gets upset and starts talking to himself, so Kat gives her seat to another passenger. A minute later, some random guy on the train stabs another one, and then within seconds, everyone on the train is infected and fighting.
Almost everyone.
The businessman is infected as well, and he pokes out the eye of the girl next to Kat. The train stops, and everyone gets off.
Best use of an umbrella ever.
She didn't think so.
No, she didn't.
Well, Kat runs off, helping Molly, the girl who just lost an eye. The businessman, for some reason, is still following them. He taunts them from down the hallway. Yes, he can still speak. He laughs and runs after them, and they run into a big guy who tries to help, and the businessman bites his nose off. He winks at the girls as he kills the helpful stranger.
Well, that wink was making fun of the one-eyed girl.
Ah, yes. So they're not only zombies, they have sadistic personalities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, they get away, but it's clear the businessman isn't done with them yet. Elsewhere, Jim finds bodies everywhere, and he's trying to get to Kat's work, not realizing she never made it there. He stops to do a little duct tape first aid on his 2 missing fingers. He scares off a group of infected who are attacking a man, but this man doesn't want to be saved. Kat and Molly make it to the hospital, and the ER has been overrun, and the police have been very, very busy. There's a military address on TV, and they explain that the disease is serious, and so far the scientists haven't found a solution. The president comes on and gives a standard-sounding kind of pep talk.
And that was almost, well, okay, it was darkly humorous, because, here's this inspirational message, everything's under control, we'll stay calm, the military is controlling the situation.
And then the general behind him
is right behind him.
The general behind him goes berserk and kills the president right there on the air with
Live.
A grenade.
Yeah, kablooey.
Best presidential address ever. Kat sees the businessman waiting for her outside. He breaks the window and lets the other crazies in. He goes looking for Kat, but finds Molly, and he does things to her eye socket as she screams. Never seen that in a zombie movie before.
I had not seen that in a zombie movie before, no.
Jim gets a message from Kat saying she's at the hospital now. Jim has a kind of vision, but he shakes it off. Is he infected? Well, the businessman continues to follow Kat, and she beats him up over the head with a fire extinguisher until there's not much left of him. I still kind of expected him to get up. But he didn't.
No, it was too much.
She meets up with a guy in a hazmat suit who orders her to cuff herself to a pike, a pipe, and shower in disinfectant, which she does. He's a virologist, Dr. Wong, and he says he tried to warn people that the Alvin virus would mutate. And I don't know, was he the guy that was in that video in the beginning?
No, I don't think he was.
Not, okay.
No.
Well, Jim arrives at the hospital and starts his search. Dr. Wong injects Kat with the virus to see if she's immune or not. He also injected all the babies in the maternity ward with the virus to see if they were immune. They weren't. He gets a text that a helicopter will be landing on the roof for him in 5 minutes. They leave the safe room, and Wong is almost immediately attacked. Kat helps Wong walk to the roof, but Jim shows up, who is now clearly infected. He kills Wong as Kat runs away. Wong laughs about killing babies as he dies himself. Jim talks about all the things he'd like to do to Kat, but they're separated by a locked door. She runs up the roof to the helicopter, and then we hear gunfire up there. I don't think she got away.
I don't think she did, yeah. It took me a while to realize that. But
you didn't realize it until you read my review.
Yeah, well, then the virologist said that unless he showed
up there, yeah,
that they were just going to open fire on anybody that showed up. And yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So
another one of those no happy endings.
So it's a downer, yeah.
All right, well, this was very creative, to say the least. It's exceptionally bloody, and as much as I like gore shots, there's just kind of too much blood in some of these shots to be realistic. We're getting a little into the comedic territory with some of this.
Some people really spurt.
There's no parallels here with any other pandemics that have been reported as fake news in the real world. Nope, none at all.
No, not at all.
No. Well, it's essentially a zombie movie, but these people aren't dead, they're just infected. I'm reminded immediately of The Crazies, which we only reviewed just a few weeks ago.
Or a bit of 28
days later.
Yeah.
The disease just seems to make people evil, sadistic, and mean. Otherwise, they seem to have all their faculties, and some of them are very creative. Definitely like this one.
Yes, me too.
Where'd we see that? Was that Shudder?
Yes.
Okay, another score for Shudder.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
X.
Marks the spot?
Yep, it does. X. For
written
porn.
and directed by
rated X.
Yeah, that X Factor.
Mm-hmm.
Directed and written by Ty West. Stars Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, and Brittany Snow. Hour and 46 minutes. There's a trailer in the show notes. And supposedly we may have some giveaway copies of this coming pretty soon. So listen with a grain of salt to the review.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't got them yet, but maybe.
Shouldn't spoil it heavily then.
All right, well, the spoiler-free judgment zone. It's a movie within a movie. As a group of youngsters making a porno film find out they're in a whole lot of trouble. It's one of those endings shown first movies, so we get to see the details of what led up to that point. And the cast is all very good, as is the script. It's well worth a watch, much better than either of us expected going into it. Yeah, I was expecting, Friday the 13th, or maybe even more like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it kind of takes place in the past, and it's kind of gritty and dirty looking.
And it is a little bit reminiscent of that.
Yeah, it's got some of those...
It's got that vibe to it.
Yeah. But it's not exactly.
No, it's different. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I liked it too. Spoil it for us. What happens?
Well, several police cars are in front of an old farmhouse. The sheriff goes in. There's blood and gore everywhere. Sheriff and officers find something in the cellar. And then we go back to 24 hours earlier. In Houston, a group of strippers get into a van and go on a field trip to make a porn movie. It's 1979, and there are refineries everywhere. Maxine wants to be famous. She thinks this may be her big break. Wayne thinks she's got the X Factor.
So yeah, the name of the movie is not about the X-rated or the X-porn. It's the X Factor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. Well, RJ and Lorraine are the film crew. RJ swears it's possible to make a good, dirty movie.
He is an artiste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He wants to make it quality, not just about the sex. Well, Wayne is the film director. Jackson, Bobby Lynn, and Maxine are the talent. And they're headed out in the country to film the new porno, The Farmer's Daughter. Eventually, we see them pull up and park in the house that we saw earlier at the beginning, so we know this isn't going to end well. Wayne knocks on the door. Howard answers with a shotgun. Howard thinks Wayne's from the county. Well, government.
Government,
Yeah,
yeah.
get on my doorstep, you government. Well, Wayne reminds him that they are there about the boarding house where the folks that called you. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Howard's a creepy old guy. He warns the others to behave themselves, which they have no intention of obeying.
They didn't tell Howard they were making a porno movie.
No, no. They're just on vacation. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they set down to business of making a porno. And, it's kind of raunchy. The sex and the sex scenes and stuff. Do we want to spoil it further? Should we go further?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, RJ and Lorraine film the action while Bobby, Lynn, and Jackson go to it. Maxine goes for a walk while the others work, and someone watches her from inside the woods. She goes for a swim. We see an alligator that is there as well, and she narrowly avoids being eaten. Afterward, she goes to the farmhouse where she sees an old woman, Pearl, Howard's wife, and they have a crazy conversation. Howard gets home from work, finds evidence that Pearl wasn't alone in the house. The rest of the gang moves into the barn, where Maxine has to milk a cow for the camera. And then it's Maxine's turn to have a go with Jackson on camera. As they film, Maxine sees Pearl peeking in through the window. Pearl gets in the mood. She goes inside, wants sex from Howard, but he refuses because of his heart. That evening, Bobby, Lynn, and Maxine give their point of view about sex and porn to Lorraine, who's inexperienced, a little bit prudish. Wayne explains that the new growing home video market is going to blow the market sky high. Wow, newfangled. Because this was, previous to this, it was just the 9mm stuff, and they are moving into the technology of home videos and
change the world.
And yeah, this is going to be a huge thing.
And actually, he was right.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And porn ain't gonna be, yeah, awesome. One of the best lines in the movie. Porn ain't gonna be for perverts, just for perverts no more.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we get a musical interlude from Jackson and Bobby Lynn, cross-cut with an ancient old Pearl getting ready for bed. When Lorraine decides she wants to be in the film, RJ refuses to allow her to get involved. Wayne takes her side, but RJ thinks Lorraine is a nice girl. Well, Lorraine does get her scene, but RJ cries afterwards. RJ gets mad.
It's all fun and games till your girlfriend wants to do a porno.
Yeah. Well, he gets mad and takes the van. He's going to just abandon everybody. Except he sees Pearl standing outside and gets out to see what's wrong. Look at me like you looked at her, she moans. He is pretty turned off by the old woman, so she stabs him in the throat over and over and over, and then she does a little dance.
And by old lady, we mean she's like 90 and wrinkly and falling apart and kind of dementia. And yeah, she's old.
But she knows how to use a knife. Lorraine notices that RJ is missing, and she and Wayne go outside searching. She runs into Howard, who is also out looking for Pearl. Wayne, in bare feet, has an encounter with a rusty nail.
Worst part of the film.
Man, that makes you cringe.
You know, you can watch these movies like this and The Quiet Place, and they got all these deaths and blood and spurting and murders.
Somebody steps
on a nail. It's a whole different level.
Yeah. And that's the worst part of his... Oh, that's not the worst part of his knife, when he runs into Pearl, who has a pitchfork now. Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah, owie. Yeah. Howard sends Lorraine into the basement after a flashlight, and she finds it with no problem, but then gets locked in. And then she finds the body of Wayne chained to the ceiling, who had been killed by the pitchfork. Well, Jackson sees Howard outside and asks what's going on. She gets confused after dark sometimes, the old man explains. Jackson offers to help him search. Meanwhile, Pearl slips into Maxine's room and undresses before slipping into bed with her. Jackson finds an old car half sunk in the pond, a la Psycho, trying to get rid of the evidence. Howard starts in on Jackson about enticing my wife and then shoots him.
Because, he wanted to seduce that 90-year-old woman.
Yeah, they're both a bit crazy, the old people. Lorraine finds a hatchet, goes to work on the door where she's locked in, but Howard returns, cuts some of her fingers off. Ouchie. Yeah, there's lots of ouchies.
Still not as bad as the nails.
Yeah, the nail was the worst. Yeah. Maxine wakes up and finds Pearl asleep next to her and screams. Bobby Lynn runs in to help and passes Pearl on the way out. Bobby Lynn goes outside looking for Jackson, but finds Pearl again. Bobby Lynn gets to her first. Pearl pushes her into the pond where the gator finally gets his meal. Yeah, chomp chomp. Howard and Pearl come into the house looking for Maxine, and they decide to have old people sex as Maxine hides under the bed. Maxine crawls out, gets the gun from the van. She hears Lorraine screaming inside, goes in to get her. Lorraine runs outside and is immediately shot by Howard, who talks to Pearl about dumping the bodies into the pond. So this sort of thing has happened before, clearly.
Yes,
Yeah.
not their first game.
Yeah. Howard says Lorraine's body is heavier than she looks, and he has a heart attack, dies on the spot. Maxine confronts Pearl with the pistol. She fires, but the gun isn't loaded. Pearl's, on the other hand, is loaded. And that doesn't go the way anybody expected. Maxine grabs the keys, gets into the van, and finishes Pearl off. She drives away. And then we see the creepy old TV preacher talking about his missing daughter, who is Maxine.
Yeah. And I've already heard that there may be a sequel in the works.
Okay.
And I don't know how that, or a prequel or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's going to be more of this.
All right.
Well, how is it that we can watch tens of thousands of people die in a zombie apocalypse and stuff, and cringe so badly when one guy steps on a nail barefooted? Ow.
Yeah.
Well, probably due to the time period and setting, it's very reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from way back in 1974. I'm sure that's no coincidence. And I have no idea how the porno films of the 1970s were actually made, but I'll bet it was pretty much just like this. It seems accurate.
Yeah.
In most horror films, the final girl is also the one who has no sex. In this film, the two who don't have sex are the ones who die first. RJ and the director guy.
Yeah.
Oh, who knew old people could be so horrifying just by being old? There are some things old people shouldn't be doing, and this film demonstrates that all too clearly. You ever hide under the bed while 90-year-olds have sex inches away?
Yikes.
Yeah.
No, I've never personally done that.
Don't.
Yeah.
The old age makeup is pretty bad, or maybe just horrific, making Pearl far scarier than a real old woman ever could be.
Yeah, I don't think it was bad. It was just creepy.
Yeah. Why did they use the old age makeup on the old woman?
Because it's the same actress.
Yeah.
Maxine.
Old Lady
and
Pearl
are
and
the same
Maxine
person.
are both Mia Goth in disguise. One she looks a little on the younger side, one she looks way on the older side.
I thought she did a really nice job with that role. Yeah, those roles.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. And we had a short film this week, which we both kind of liked.
Overkill. 2019.
Yeah.
Short film.
Written and directed by Alex Montilla, or maybe it's Montilla, I don't know. Stars Timothy Guyon Smith, Bud Galloway, Tristan Hagen, and Amy Letcher. And for some reason, the credits were shown in order of appearance, I think. Amy Letcher is the main girl here. 14 minutes, 57 seconds, and you can watch the entire thing on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes.
It's a good one.
What happens?
A girl runs into a house and calls 911. She thinks her friends have all been murdered. And she runs into the house without closing the door.
They always do.
Like they often do. Well, 6 friends are camping in the woods. One of them sees the killer with the mask that the guy at the gas station warned them about. And no one else believes him or cares.
The crazy old harbinger.
Mm-hmm. There's some really good woke talk. And the couple split up and go separate ways to make out. What if there really is someone out there, she asks. Yeah, what if? Yeah.
Spoiler, there is. Okay, well, this takes the tropes from just about all the slasher films and adds in a lot of political correctness, bad puns, and one-liners, plus an indestructible villain.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
Yeah, you take Freddy, not Freddy, Jason and Michael Myers, and how many times have those guys gotten stabbed, shot, burned, blown up, and who knows what else?
Oh, she really goes over the top on this. Well,
Yeah.
it's Overkill. That's the name of the name of the thing. Yeah.
It's like a big, messy cartoon in some ways.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah, we both liked it.
Yep.
Which takes us to a documentary of all things.
2021, The Found Footage Phenomenon.
Written and directed by Sarah Appleton and Philip Escort. Stars Dean Alioto, Stefan Avalos, James Cullen Bresek, and Patrick Bryce.
And a whole lot of other people involved in the business.
Yeah, it's one of those interview shows. Hour and 41 minutes. Spoiler free. What happens spoiler free?
Well, there's not really spoilers to spoil on this. It's a documentary.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a thing called found footage.
Yeah. And then this is a whole genre. It's very well put together, interviewing many people who have worked in the field and really know their stuff. It's very interesting and really worth the watch.
Yeah. And I have to admit that, found footage is probably my least favorite of the horror genres, I think.
I still love the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, there are good ones out there, but it has been overdone, and this talks about that a little bit. We start out with a definition of found footage, which is film that was supposedly shot by characters in the story, not by, a real production company, usually found after the filmmakers have gone missing. The camera and the camera operators are characters within the story, and the footage is literally found and may not have been intended to be seen. So it's usually a little bit rough. It offers authenticity and realism that doesn't come through in normal films, and it also allows a much lower quality since these were never intended to be watched. Any cheapness in the special effects or something, well, that's just part of the story. They're not a final product. As various filmmakers explain all this, we see clips from their films. Okay, so believe it or not, the genre is credited to start with the original novel of Dracula, based on the found letters and diary entries of the main characters.
And that makes
I never
sense.
really thought about that before, but yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And Frankenstein is also the same.
It's kind of a diary of someone recollecting all the activities of the Frankenstein characters. The War of the Worlds broadcast from 1934 was along the same lines, pretending it was all real as the program developed. Yeah.
So it kind of blurs the line, not always found footage necessarily. Like the Blair Witch Project, for instance. This footage was found after the three kids disappeared. They start right out saying that. But some of these others...
Well, the War of the Worlds wasn't found. That was a live broadcast.
Found, but it's
Dracula
real.
and Frankenstein,
it's
it was
supposed to be-
found material afterwards. So, yeah, that does work.
Yeah, but they're talking about how that blurs the line and, it can be real footage, quote, real also, not necessarily found after the fact.
Yeah.
Somebody deliberately doing a documentary.
So if you were thinking like if
like that.
Blair Witch was the first found footage, you'd be very wrong.
Yeah, and there were others before that. And
they get into
things
the
that
early
influenced
found
it.
footage films of the 60s and 70s like Peeping Tom, Mondo Cane, and Cannibal Holocaust are discussed. We reviewed Cannibal Holocaust way back in the early days of the podcast. I don't know, episode like 12 or so. You could go back and look. It was pretty gross.
Yeah, it was.
But it was definitely found footage. Peeping Tom, we're going to be looking at within the next few weeks, actually. It went on my list after watching this documentary.
We have that now. You're going to watch it?
The various tropes of found footage are discussed. Things like asking, why are you still filming?
Stop filming me. I don't want to be on camera. Things like that.
To be believable, there has to be a reason for the filming to be happening. There was a lot of overlap at the time between documentary reporting and reconstructions used in reality TV. Then the internet came along, and that brought a whole new aspect to the genre, which is webcasting, live casting, and eventually Zoom and video conferencing. The technology for film editing evolved around the same time, and it was much easier for anyone to make a film, so why not incorporate that into a found footage film? This leads right into the believed reality of something like the Blair Witch Project. It was almost too specific, which made it hard to duplicate afterwards.
Not that people didn't try.
Oh, yeah. Everything was going to look like a copycat after Blair Witch. After this, torture porn kind of took off, which combined really well with the reality aspect of found footage. And we've reviewed a bunch of those, which... And you get things like bunny games and, what was that one with the Korean surgeon and the two victims?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
I can't
know
either
the one
now.
you mean.
Yeah.
But that was a found footage kind of thing, too.
Yeah, a lot of them like that. Well, YouTube came along next, and now everyone was taping everything, which makes the genre's conceit much more believable. If everyone is recording... some of them are going to catch something really weird once in a while, right? And this is where Kevin gets off into his little side discussion about how the Bigfoot sightings have all stopped since phones came around.
And UFOs are a lot less. Now that everybody's got a phone, where's all the nobody encounters Bigfoot anymore?
In the 70s, you get all these grainy Bigfoot photos and all these UFO photos. And
when's the most recent nice clear iPhone footage you've seen of Bigfoot?
It all stopped.
Or the Loch Ness Monster or any of the other beasts out there?
They're so photo shy.
The crypto beasts. Yeah.
Well, anyway, back in the film, there's discussion of Diary of the Dead and Zombie Diary and who copied who. They both came out about the same time, but the one that came out last was actually the first one made. Lake Mungo, Wreck, Noroi the Curse, Cloverfield, and Paranormal Activity are discussed. And even What We Do in the Shadows and Troll Hunter are mentioned a few times. And then it wraps up with discussion of newer films like One Cut of the Dead, Host, Unfriended, and projections of what's coming in the future. Deepfakes and fake footage might be one of those ideas whose time is coming.
And these kind of movies are always fun to watch because you see so many clips and bits and pieces of movies.
And you're like, I saw that.
Or ones
What is that?
Or one that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
You think, ooh, I need to see that.
Documentaries always lead to a few things going on my
ideas
list.
of what you need to see. Yeah.
I'm sure that the first found footage I watched would have been the obvious one, the Blair Witch Project from way back in 1999, believe it or not. It was interesting to see that there were so many films that did it before Blair Witch. They go into how the timing and methods were just right to make it a huge hit, and the internet spread the fan word of mouth and so forth with that one. I think they stretched the definition to include various fake documentaries like What We Do in the Shadows, which at least from my opinion isn't really found footage. Nobody died at the end of that, did they?
Not that we know of.
I don't remember. Still, we added a bunch of films we haven't seen to our to-watch list, and you'll be hearing about those in a few weeks. And if you enjoy the genre, this is a pretty good overview of the history. It's older than you may think, but it's one of the newer horror genres overall. And this was also on Shudder. Well, I wish we got a commission on Shudder sales.
Yeah.
We watch a lot of Shudder.
They need to have some kind of loyalty program or something.
Yeah. I'd say we watch the majority of the new things on Shudder. We watch a lot of stuff on Tubi.
Mm-hmm. Surprising amount.
Netflix, we actually canceled Netflix months and months ago. That's why we haven't talked Squid Game yet.
Tubi, you do have to put up with a few commercials here and there.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of stuff.
There's one called Classics with an X, Classix, that has a lot of the really old ones. We watched some of the stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, a lot of really old films are just free on YouTube.
Yes.
Which I assume are legal. YouTube would have yanked them if they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Which takes us to our newest film this week, Torn Hearts, which is either just released. I guess it's released now.
I think it's officially out there now.
Directed by Bree Grant, written by Rachel Collar-Croft, stars Katie Segal, Shiloh Fernandez, and Joshua Leonard. Hour 33 minutes, and trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free. What's this one about?
Katie Segal from
Married with Children.
Yeah. Torn Hearts. Okay, this is their...
Okay, this is the promo copy, yes.
Yeah, the promo copy says, Torn Hearts, starring Katie Segal, is now available on digital on demand, and it's a horrifying tale set in Nashville's country music scene. Two rising stars visit their idol's mansion, turns into a twisted series of mental and physical torment. Buy or rent Torn Hearts, watch it today, unrated, from Paramount Pictures.
And we watched it, I believe it was on the Redbox app.
Mm-hmm.
And we do still have some promo codes for this to give away.
That's the codes we have to give away via Redbox, which is very easy to use.
Okay.
Well,
relatively easy.
Yeah,
all right.
It's an app you can watch on all your devices and everything.
Yeah.
It requires nothing special.
We have an Apple TV device, but it works on Roku and not on your phone and your iPad, or I guess they work on the computer too.
And then you can AirPlay it or watch it on your little screen. Yeah, whatever.
So email us again if you want a free copy of that. Email@horrorguys.com, and stop listening now because we're gonna Well, let's not go all the way with this one.
No, I don't think we should. With
Yeah,
it
this
being
one's so
new.
new,
Yeah.
nobody's seen it
If
yet.
you want to read the full synopsis, you can on the website.
Yes, horrorguys.com, and do a search for Torn Hearts, and it's all there in brutal glory.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, not going too far into this, but we start out watching an interview from 1993 about two sisters, Harper and Hope Dutch, who are breaking into the country music business. We made it to the top, and that's right where we're going to stay. Then we hear arguing, gunfire, and see blood pouring out from under the door.
And I was confused, and what I was expecting was that we were going to see a flashback of them.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
The two of them are not the main characters.
We shift to the present, where Jordan and Lee are on stage singing more country music. The two of them are known as the group Torn Hearts. Their manager, Richie, points out the artist who is in the audience, and Richie says things are done a certain way in Nashville and the girls aren't playing nice. He calls over the musician Caleb, who is a big star. Jordan stays late and has drinks with Caleb and tells him her story, which leads to the inevitable sex. Elsewhere, Richie warns Lee that Jordan is a liability and she's going to screw things up for all of them. Jordan notices that Caleb has a photo of him with Harper Dutch, who is her idol. I'm your number one fan. Harper Dutch hasn't performed much since her sister tragically died.
Which is that.
And we pretty much know what happened at this point, yes.
At the beginning now.
Caleb warns Lee about Harper and says she's a wacko. Lee thinks it might be worthwhile to meet Harper and talk her into doing a trio. And Caleb gives her the address. All right, well, Lee talks Jordan into going over to Harper's house and introducing themselves. And Harper's house is way out in the woods, and the tall wall around the place is all overgrown and creepy looking.
They bring a pie.
They do, her favorite pie from an interview way back when.
Mm-hmm.
Harper buzzes them in, and they finally meet their idol. It's awkward, and they all have a drink and talk about their music. All right, and things happen.
Yeah, lots of
things
things
spiral
happen.
out of control.
Things happen, yeah.
All right, well, I can't say I've seen very many country music horror films, but here we are. The two girls I thought they were pretty terrible singers.
I did not think so. I mean, I think they were faking it. They were clearly not. The three of them are
I think Katie Segal can sing.
Oh, yes, but they're not professional country singers.
No, they are not.
None of the three. But I thought that they all pulled it off really well. And
okay.
I thought they sounded just fine. I wouldn't call them horrible singers by any stretch.
Katie Segal, they're acting.
They're acting singers.
Katie Segal
not
as
singers who
Harper
are acting.
is suitably creepy and unhinged, and the other two are just sort of along for the ride, in my opinion. I thought it was pretty slow, and the middle hour was kind of talky and dull. It felt a little stretched out.
It does really have a dip, I thought.
Yeah.
The beginning is strong, the middle is a little draggy, and then it picks right up at the end.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. The end is wow. Yeah. Well worth it.
Yeah.
So if you do watch it and you're starting to feel discouraged partway through, stick with it.
It gets better. Yeah, the end is good, the beginning is good, the middle, it's a little talky.
A little bit.
All right, well, show business is tough, and not much more needs to be said than that. The ending is good, but it did take an awfully long time to get there. Overall, I liked it. I give it a thumbs up.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. All right, and that is our show for the week. Stop in over at horrorguys.com and read the long version of all these reviews. Go to horrorbulletin.com and sign up for that weekly email newsletter. And if you want, stop over to horrorguys.com/books and pick up our wide and growing selection of horror nonfiction books.
You betcha.
All the good movie summaries. If you like our reviews, the books are kind of the same thing, but longer. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.